Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest used to be Prime Minister of the Netherlands. He took the helm of the Netherlands at a time of both economic and political crisis. And although his nickname at the time was Harry Potter because of the round glasses he wore, he was never equipped with magical tricks to get the job done. Today, he is a member of the supervisory board of ING. He joined Ernst & Young, focusing on corporate governance and the interface between private and public sector. He is also professor of public governance at the Universiteit of Rotterdam. So he is a leader in both the political, the corporate, and the academic world. Ladies and gentlemen, former Prime Minister Jan Peter Balkenende.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's so good to be with you. This morning, I was moderator at a meeting in Amsterdam, and the first presentation was held by a Belgian economist. He gave a beautiful presentation about economic developments worldwide, but he also showed the pictures of the World Championship soccer. And I think the Belgians did a fantastic job. You received the third prize, and I must say, this year he had a lot of supporters in the Netherlands. And now, again, a beautiful experience here in Antwerp. A great event, SuperNova. And this is about the future. This is about the world of tomorrow. So it's really good to be here. And the theme of this meeting is the future is unstoppable. And I agree with this theme. The future is unstoppable. But the key question, as far as I can see, is in which direction? What direction should be the right way for the future? And I would like to share some views on this topic, and I would like to make 3 remarks. The first remark is about the new economy and the meaning of it. The second one is about conscious capitalism, another type of capitalism. And the third one is about the question, is there a global agenda? And I think that the new economy, conscious capitalism, and the global agenda belong to each other. They form an integral part to give a view on the future. Ladies and gentlemen, if you talk about the new economy, I remember the year 2000, we also spoke about the new economy. And in those days, people said, everything is under control. The economy is doing well, we have everything under control, no worries. Well, we've seen in 2008 what happened. And now again, we speak about the new economy, and it has another meaning. Today, it's about digitization, 3D printing, the Internet of Things, robotics, and we just heard a story about it. And I think that these dimensions really can help society. I'm convinced about that. Also, my company, EY, you can see the changes. We are writing reports about megatrends, and in the Antwerp office, we will have an EY wave space, and that has to do with the laying connections between people who are specialized in innovation and our teams and board members of companies here in Belgium. I think the economic dimension is huge of the new economy. There's also a social dimension. We talk about the sharing economy, Uber, Airbnb. Can we use things together? The sharing economy and social innovation, how to organize companies in a world that's changing. And there's also another dimension. A few years ago, I attended a conference in Singapore, and I listened to a beautiful presentation of Masayoshi Son. He is the CEO of the Japanese company, the SoftBank Group. And he spoke in a beautiful way about the new economy and about what is possible today. And he had the presentation, and suddenly Pepper was on stage. Maybe you know Pepper, that's a robot. And I spoke with Mr. Son afterwards. I said, how long are you busy with your company? He said, well, 3 years. Oh. And can you buy those robots? Yes, you can buy the hardware and the software. And my next question was, how can it be used? Or we use them in shops for the presentations of articles, or we use them in hospitals. How to walk. But then somebody in the audience said, Mr. Son, I believe you want to make people happier with robots. But if these robots are in the hands of terrorist groups, then they become monsters. And then he said, it's true. In the world of artificial intelligence, it's also about the moral code. And I would like to underline the words, the moral code. There are ethical dimensions when we talk about the new economy. I like the new economy because it gives so many opportunities to have a better world, but you have to fight for it. And you have to think about the concept of the ethical dimension of the new economy. And that brings me to my second point. As I've already said, I'm a professor at Erasmus University in Rotterdam. And a few years ago, we had a conference and there was a presentation of Rai Sisodia, an American professor with an Indian background. And he is convinced that we have to rethink the organization of our economies. He said it's not just capitalism, it's about conscious capitalism. How can you serve society by organizing things in another way? So he wrote a book about conscious capitalism. There's another organization called the Co-Roundtable, and they've written books about moral capitalism. A few years ago, I attended the conference of that organization, and people with a Roman Catholic background, a Protestant background, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, humanists, together we were thinking about quality of life. And we talk about inclusive capitalism. Also here in Antwerp, I think you know who Adam Smith is, the founder of modern economic thinking. And Adam Smith, he said, it's about the free hand in the economy. He wrote a book, The Wealth of Nations. And when there were difficulties in the 19th century, people said, that's Adam Smith, the wealth of nations, the social question of those days. But we have forgotten one important thing. Adam Smith also wrote a book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And for Adam Smith, the free hand should be connected with those moral sentiments. And you can read fantastic books about quality of life worldwide. I read a book with the title Abundance of Peter Diamandis, the founder of the Singularity University. And he analyzed what are the issues of today, illiteracy, hunger, poverty, and water, etc. And he said at this moment we have the technical means to find solutions for all those issues. But we fail because there are so many vested interests, old-fashioned way of thinking, and not using the new techniques. Another book was written by two professors, one from Harvard and one from MIT. And the title of that book is Why Nations Fail. And the key question is, under which conditions can countries be successful or not? And the answer is very clear of those two authors. One, if you want to be successful, you always must be innovative. And sometimes you have to stop with activities, creative destruction. In the second place, you must have the rule of law. No criminality, a good legal system. And the third one is, you must have inclusive institutions, meaning that people must be able to share in the revenues of economic well-being. I think it's a great book. This summer, I know how to review, but when I have a holiday, I always like to read books. And usually I go to Malta. And this year I read the book of a Nobel Prize winner in economics, Jan Peter, a Frenchman. And the title of his book is Economics for the Common Good. I underline the words, the common good. And I have the conviction that in this world, we have to talk, to think, and to act on the issue of human dignity for every human being, for the quality of life, and for a sustainable future. And therefore, it's so important to lay connection between the new economy, the technical dimension, and the issue of conscious capitalism. And that brings me to my third and last point. The last point is about what's happening in the world. Is there a kind of global agenda? Dear friends, I don't know how it's with you, but sometimes you can be confused. We are living in a world of hunger, poverty, populism, nationalism, trade wars, tensions in the Middle East and in many places. And sometimes you can think, is there also a positive agenda? And I think there is a positive agenda. It's very difficult when you're standing here to see you. So you ask the question, do you know the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations? I think it's a beautiful set of goals. It's all about quality of life for every human being. No hunger, no poverty, good life in cities, responsible consumption and production, clean and affordable energy. And when UN started with it in 2015, I thought, my God, 17 goals, 180 actions. Can this be a success? And now, a few years later, you can see that the SDGs are being discussed worldwide. And maybe you know that the SDGs had a predecessor. Before the SDGs, we had the Millennium Goals. Countries decided about that in the year 2000. And it was about illiteracy, bringing down starvation of children, the position of women worldwide, equality. And 15 years later, we discovered that 70 or 80% of those goals were realized. It is possible to change the world. And therefore, the Sustainable Development Goals are really key in changing the world. It's an agenda of hope. It has to do with quality of life for everyone in the world. We have a common responsibility. And in a world that's split up with so many tensions, you can see that SDGs can unite people, can unite countries, can unite companies. And I think this is a message of hope. We also have the issue of climate change. I attended the climate summit in Copenhagen in 2009 as Prime Minister. That was not a success. The whole world was watching us, and in fact it was not possible to have binding agreements on climate change, and it is so necessary. And Paris made progress. It's not enough, but it's clear that if we want to have a good life also for the next generations, we must work on the issue of climate change. And therefore, I'm happy with the outcome of the discussions in Paris. But you have to act, and it's good that countries are obliged to report every 5 years what is the progress in realizing the goals of Paris. And then the third one, of course, is the circular economy. We're used to use natural resources, to make products out of it, and then we throw it away, we burn it. Is this sustainable? No. We will have 10 billion people in 2050. And if we would continue to produce and consume in a non-sustainable way, there will be no future for next generations. And the circular economy means you have to think about the question, do you have to produce? Is it necessary? When you can use internet, why should you print things? And if you're producing, can you share it, the sharing economy? Or can you reuse or refurbish? I like the approach of the circular economy. So there is a global agenda. And the good thing of this event, SuperNova, is that it is about the world of tomorrow. It is about new technologies. It is about innovation. It is about growth. But the question is always, how can you serve society in the best way? In the Netherlands, I'm chairman of the Dutch Sustainable Growth Coalition, a coalition of 8 multinationals. And we said we should think about sustainable growth business models. And ask yourself the question, how can we contribute to Paris, to the climate change issue? What can we do regarding the Sustainable Development Goals? What does it mean for your own products? I can give many examples. It is possible to change the world, and it happens also here in Belgium. I think it's fantastic to think about tomorrow's world. I remember the time when Al Gore came to Amsterdam for the release of his film, An Inconvenient Truth. And it increased awareness. And later on I saw the film Chasing Ice. In the film of Al Gore, you can see the glaciers, the ice mountains in the Alps 100 years ago and now. But Chasing Ice is a film about the cameraman, and he installed cameras in Iceland, Greenland and Alaska. And when you are making pictures every month and you put the pictures behind each other, then you can see that the ice is disappearing. And I was shocked when I saw that film. So if we talk about tomorrow's world, if we talk about the future, the question is, how can we work on having a better society and a better economy? It's a message of hope. The new economy, with the new insights, deliver a lot of solutions, and it really can improve quality of life. It's more than just talking in terms of what can we do in the sphere of turnovers. My company is organizing in a lot of countries the Entrepreneur of the Year election. We have also the World Entrepreneur of the Year election. And a few years ago, we had a fantastic event with famous CEOs, Coca-Cola, Ford Motor Company, Coca-Cola, etc., WPP, Starbucks. And the key question to all the CEOs was, what's your legacy? And if you ask this question, what's your legacy? Then it's about quality of life and how you can contribute to a better world. Dear friends, it's always good to be here. I'm from the province of Zeeland. I've been many, many times in Antwerp. I like the city so much. I like the people so much. It's good to be together to talk about our common challenges. Mahatma Gandhi once said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. It's a great remark. And I have a good friend, Feike Sibusma, the CEO of DSM, a chemical company. He once said, you can never be successful in a world that fails. So if we talk about the world of tomorrow, if we say here in Antwerp, the future is unstoppable, my remark would be, it's always about the question, in which direction are we proceeding? What about a sustainable future? I wish you a great event. I wish you a lot of success. Let's use innovation to have a better world. Thank you very much.